Hi, this is Judy Carenti, and I'm here today to present my global business plan, which is on human resources consulting services. The reason I chose to do my business plan on a human resources service is because I currently work in the human resources area. I really like the field that I work in. I feel like I'm able to help people and with their jobs, with employment, with their benefits, with things that come their way. And I enjoy working in that area. One of my professors in my last class suggested that I consider doing some human resources consulting, so that is why I decided to do my business plan in this area. The Global Human Resources Consulting Service that I plan to open will provide comprehensive human resources services in target areas. We'll start in one country, which will be discussed shortly, but the services will center around providing compensation packages, benefit packages, making sure that employment laws are followed and met in each particular area. And I also would like to work with companies who hire us to represent them, to help them design and implement organizational change and development. The human resources services are individually designed to guide employers through the various aspects of employment laws and to create comprehensive and competitive compensation packages in order to recruit and retain the best qualified and productive employees. The service would be available globally, and an entry point of the service would be in India. The service would then expand to other parts of the world and particularly China due to their growing workforce. The population and growth potential in India is substantial. The population is growing very rapidly and can support this type of service. It is expected to increase at a higher rate than it has in the past, and by 2050 by 1.7%. The FDI attractiveness is an area that I looked at when deciding where to implement my service, and India is 11th overall in terms of FDI attractiveness. This prediction is what the country will most likely receive in economic inflows. There are risks when opening a global business in any country, and these need to be evaluated in order to determine if this is a good decision. In India, the political risk is not too high. It is a fairly stable democracy. The economic risk is also is okay. There is a high level of government debt and low level of income. That does create some risk, but overall the country is able to sustain economic growth. And legal risk, there is always legal risk in India, and that is when the potential to fall on the wrong side of the law happens. Considering all these risks, I've decided to still continue my plan to move in. Culture in India plays a huge part in their society. There are many cultural differences in India. I've listed a few of them here. One of them is regarding time. Time is auspicious, which means that they don't always follow time guidelines like we do here in the United States. If something important comes up, if something that they feel they need to spend more time on, it's okay to not attend meetings or keep appointments because that's just the way it is. In India, they also allow for respect. Another important cultural aspect to look at is the number of languages. There are 23 dialects of Hindi, which is only one of the many languages of India. We'll look at that a little bit further in another slide. But all aspects of culture must be considered when entering a country such as India, which does have history and a deep embedded culture. The Human Resources Consulting Service will need to address potential legal, social, and cultural considerations. Some of these include the ever-changing laws in India, the differing cultures and religious backgrounds that potentially affect employer-employee relationships, and also in the attempt to assist businesses to recruit and retain employees. We're going to look at all these considerations in the preliminary business plan. Social and cultural considerations. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Hinduism is the dominant religion in India, where Hindus form about 84% of the total population. The Hindu beliefs are in the ideas of reincarnation and karma, and these play an important part in the way people live their life in India. The major social structure is governed by the caste system, and accounting for this type of social structure is extremely important when dealing with employer and employee relationships. Family values. Many businesses are run as an extension of family, and loyalty and longevity are rewarded and encouraged. Reputation and respect. There is an expectation of respect due to status or position, and if someone has earned respect due to their social placement, then they expect to have that respect from everybody. So that's an important thing to consider. Relationships between the customer, the businesses that will be supporting. This is an important relationship to build and in order to help this business grow. And then finally, the old versus new India idea. India's business revolution really has changed the country and opened up many business opportunities. However, traditions and practices of old India, their culture, are still in place and must be recognized and considered. I made a chart here of do's and don'ts in India. This is something that needs to be looked at and could be kind of something for our employees to use as day-to-day practices. So I've listed do's and don'ts that kind of cover the areas that we've discussed so far. There is definitely an impact of language and demographics. Hindi is the most widely used language in northern India, but it is not recognized in southern India. There are approximately 20 languages used nationally. And this is important to recognize because language can become a barrier in human resources. People do need to understand each other and understand what each other means, and sometimes communication can be lost because of a language barrier. Relevant demographics are listed here. New Delhi is the capital. It has the largest population, and that is important because that is the city which initially my business will start in. The impact of the Indian environment and human resources. Due to the social and cultural environment, it is extremely unique, and these all must be considered, especially with the geographically large country. As I mentioned, New Delhi will be the entry point because it is the capital. It is a urban area and would have a lot of businesses that could be attracted to a human resources consulting service. The purpose of the global business strategy is to expand a successful U.S.-based company into India to meet their human resources needs. Cost is a consideration that would be addressed when implementing a proposal to a new customer. Specialized quality and service to customers would also be incorporated, and service would meet all legal, cultural, and social aspects of human resources, and as well as the applicable laws for employee wages and benefits. Localization would be the strategy for entry into human resource consulting. It is the strategy is able to meet local needs and demands. has the capability of adapting to local cultures, languages, and laws. Human resources is dependent on current and ever-changing information, including laws, wages, and so forth. And with localization, we would be able to stay current on updates in legislation and laws, and the cost may need to be passed down to the customers if there are specific details that would increase the cost to make a good strategy for that business. The final business plan will include the entry mode, labor markets, and human resources approach. Joint venture would be the mode into India. I believe this would be the best way to enter this market because the joint venture would provide access to local knowledge and expertise of employment laws and business practices. This would help to take into account the differences in cultures and customs amongst the regions. Cost of entry into the Indian market would be shared, and this would benefit the HR consulting services to propose a good value to the customers. The joint venture would also bring local influence, as discussed earlier, and it would also allow for expansion and to utilize existing technologies. Labor markets. Human resources is consulting will be a service industry, and the considerations that I looked at would be unemployment rates, compensation costs, education levels, and the GDP. These factors are important for a couple of purposes. One is to establish my own labor market, and the other is to look at the labor market as a whole when providing services to businesses. The overall goal is to recruit and retain highly qualified employees, not only for, again, myself or my business, but also for the companies that we're representing. So as far as my company would be concerned, is we would like to employ a skilled workforce, college graduates. We would need to look for people with good people skills, provide competitive compensation packages, and I believe senior management should be comprised of both expatriate and local employees. Employees are the most important aspect of a service business. Customer service is paramount, and you do need to find the right people to not only provide service to existing customers, but to recruit and market for new customers as well. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I am looking forward to your feedback on my company and my plan. Thank you.